What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Smart TV. Organising study groups with your friends can be an incredibly powerful study strategy. Number one, it can be a great way to stay motivated and accountable because you're working with friends. Number two, it can be more fun and more social, which can help you actually do more work than you might have otherwise. And number three, it's almost one of the most effective study strategies if you use the study group to teach each other and to really push and develop your understanding. But there is one major problem that comes with a study group, and that is that it can be incredibly distracting. You can end up hanging out and not getting any work done. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the key steps you need to take to organize an effective study group with your friends, whether or not it's face-to-face or online, so that you can turn that study group from a waste of time into one of the most effective bits of study that you do in any week of the year. So step number one is to set your study group with a max of 3 people. Now, why 3 people? There's a couple of really powerful reasons. The first is that from working with dozens of students over the last decade and encouraging them and guiding them on how to set up study groups, one of the things we've observed from their feedback is that often when you start going over 3 in your group, what ends up happening is a whole lot of gossiping and hanging out, and it's much harder to stay focused, right? The more people in a group, the harder it is for you to all stay on task, stay on goal, and actually get the work done. And that sort of makes sense, right? The more people you add to the mix, the more likely you are that people will start getting distracted, fidgety, and that'll then start carrying over and impacting the rest of the group. So, really critically, you want to have 3 as a max. Now, the second reason why you want to have 3 as a max is if you're going to be using your study group to teach each other, which is something that we strongly recommend because it is such a powerful way to build your knowledge and understanding. If you've got 3 in a group and you teach for an hour, that means each of you will get 20 minutes of teaching time where you're teaching and 40 minutes where you're asking questions and supporting, right? So you've got this teaching time ratio that's essentially, 20 minutes out of 60, so 1 in 3. If you start growing and having 4, 5, or 6 people in that study group, the reality is the time that you get to teach becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and isn't as effective, therefore, as a good use of your time. So that's where 3 from that point of view is also a really good sweet spot. It's the sweet spot enabling the teaching ratio to be sort of at a high enough point that you're getting value, but also so that you're getting a diversity of opinions from 2 other students as well. So that's really why 3 is the max. So as you go to form your study group, think carefully about who are the other 2 students that you want to be in the study group with you. Now, no, you could do a study group that is broad across a range of subjects. So it could be 2 other students that have the biggest overlap with you in subject choice. It could be, though, that you have a study group per subject. And that's often sometimes an easier way to go about it so that you can go deep on a particular subject when you're working on it. And so then you want to think about, okay, who are 2 subjects that do this, 2 students, I should say, who do this subject with me? But really importantly, you want to think about here as well, are they at a similar level of motivation as me? Or are they more motivated? Because that's pretty much what you want. Same motivation or more. Because if they're not, and if they're incredibly demotivated, they're not going to be able to contribute to the study group as effectively, and their motivation may drag the whole group down and act as a bit of an anchor. So you want to find people at your level of motivation or higher. So that's the first thing we need to do in terms of step number 1. Step number 2, you also want to set specific times each week that you're going to have this study group. Don't let it just form organically, because if you take that approach, really honestly, it won't happen. So if you've got free periods or study periods during the week with friends and you want to set it, great, use that as a time. Set it as a non-negotiable time each week. If you're doing it outside of school, equally, set a time. Thursday, 5 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m., Sunday, 3 p.m., whatever time it is, be really, really clear. Send a calendar invite to everyone who's in the study group and have it so that it's a clear commitment for all of you that you will turn up at that particular time. Don't let it happen organically. Make it a plan. And the third and final step here, before we look at how you can then navigate this in an online setting, is you want to have a clear structure for each session. And this is fundamental and is going to be absolutely critical in transforming a study session from a potential waste of time to something that is going to be actually elevating and pushing your knowledge above and beyond. So what is this? Well, Fundamentally, when you sit down, you want to have clear goals for yourself and your peers for what you want to achieve by the end of that study session. And not just verbal, although verbal's great, write it down. Now, these goals could be of a couple of different variations. The first is, it could be that you may all choose that for this study session, you've got study you want to do. You're each independently going to do your own work, but the goal here is that you want to be studying together at the same time for accountability, right? So that they're keeping you accountable, you're keeping them accountable. So share really clearly what the to-do list items are that you expect to complete by the end of that hour, so that at the end of the hour, or however long the study session is, each of you can check in with each other to see how you went on those tasks. Now, the second type of structure that might be sort of playing out here that you might be having as a goal is it could be that you might be working to workshop an answer to questions for a specific subject or topic. So for example, you might be looking at a topic and trying to, as a group, workshop out essay plans for that particular topic. It might be that you're looking at short answer questions together and you're trying to define how you would best approach it. Now, this can be really, really powerful because one, you're able to do more work more quickly. You'll get through more levels of practice questions, more levels of essays quicker because you're collaborating as a group. But secondly, and even more importantly, it's going to help you get diverse opinions, which is going to help you refine and enhance your own approach to how you might actually respond to these questions. So once again, if that's the approach and what you're going to do, be clear that's the goal for the session, and then identify the number of questions that you want to, as a team, complete in that study session. So again, you've got a way to hold each other accountable, and at the end of the session, evaluate how successful that session was. Now, the final, at least that we'll be unpacking, there are other variations that you may choose to implement, but the final we'll be unpacking here as a potential structure and therefore goal that you could use is where you might be teaching each other for the specific subject. So it might be, it might be business studies or legal studies or history or maths or whatever it is, right? You might be coming together and teaching each other. And so for this, what you want to be really clear is what's the topic you're going to be teaching, what are the dot points or syllabus outcomes that you're going to be teaching each other on, and then you want to be clearly divvying up those dot points across each of the people in your group evenly. You don't want to have one person doing all the heavy lifting and everyone else not doing any teaching, because teaching is really powerful. You want to do as much teaching as you can so that you can further reinforce and lock information into your brain. Now, of course, sometimes if you know nothing about it, your friend may do more of the teaching, but then you want to make sure that the next session, right, you're reverting and inversing that so you're doing more of the teaching. So that's a couple of structures that you could use, but fundamentally in each one of them, we need to be really clear about what the goal is that each person is going to achieve by the end of that session. So you've got a way to keep each other accountable on that at the end of that study session. So the final thing we need to consider here is, what if you're trying to organize this study group online? Now that might be simply because it's more convenient. It might be due to COVID that you're needing to go, great, we need to meet online. Now, one of the simplest things you can do here is, particularly for example, if it is a study session where you're each got your separate goals and you're each wanting to do study, so it's more of a study with me sort of session, a simple little hack you can do is if you're studying for an hour, each of you share your screen for 20 minutes within that hour. So for the entire hour, you'll have either your screen shared or you'll see your peers, your friends' screens being shared. Now, why would you do that? Well, let's be honest, doing study at home, really distracting. It's pretty common. You're flicking over to YouTube, you're on your favorite website, you're not actually doing the work. So the idea of then this online study group here is it's about accountability. So if you share your screen for 20 minutes, it's effectively a Pomodoro in length. We'll share a link below on a Pomodoro so that you know what it is. But essentially it's a 20-minute study block, right? So you've got a Pomodoro where your screen is being shared. And the great thing about it is you're going to be super accountable, because anytime you do something else that's not study, you've got a friend down the other end that can just say, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you getting it done? Now, equally, at the end of that 20 minutes, you have a quick check-in, because you're about to stop sharing your screen and one of your peers, your friends, will share theirs. So that's a great opportunity to keep each other accountable. Let's keep going. Let's do another Pomodoro. And then one of your friends shares their screen. Now, of course, you still need to be doing the work over the entire hour, but it's a great way where each of you, using an online format, can actually keep accountable to get work done in a way that's still going to be more social and more fun. So that's just a quick tip on how you can maybe sort of make the most of an online study group as well, that you're not, doing some form of like video to video, face to face sort of call, which I think is fairly simple to still do in an online format. So there we have it. Those are the steps that we recommend really to transform, study time in a group with friends from distraction, time, and unproductive study to something that's really going to be incredibly powerful and valuable for you. If you have any further questions about how to create your study group or manage it or run it, let us know in the comments below. If you've got any other tips on things that you have found effective in creating a study group, let us know in the comments below. Of course, if you need any other support, get in touch with the team at Art of Smart Education. We've got incredible mentors that can help you, work with you to help you build your study routine if that's what you're particularly struggling with right now, and help you stay accountable. If you haven't already as well, hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. All the best.